Today, we're tackling a topic that hits home for so many women, and that is how to focus on your health without falling back into the diet mentality. Have you ever found yourself caught up in a cycle of restrictive eating only to end up stressed out and disconnected from your body? You're not alone. It happens to so many of us, although we tend to feel alone. At least that's how it used to be for me. I used to believe that I'm alone or that it's like a topic to shy away from, to be embarrassed about, but it happens to so many of us. Whether you're just starting your healing journey or you're already further along, today's episode is for you. Today, we will explore some tactical strategies on how to heal your relationship with food, continue healing, and to focus on your health without the constraints of diet culture, but instead focusing on nourishing your mind and body, because that's what health is truly all about. We tend to think that, or society makes us believe that health is just about what you eat and how much you move. But holistic health is so much more. There's so many things that play a part in it. And as a matter of fact, it's about your overall lifestyle. So it encounts everything: how you manage your stress, how stressed you are, your sleep, your physical activity and nutrition, of course, your emotional well being, and even things like your relationship and your home environment. All of this really plays an important impact on your health. So, health is not just about how we look or how much you weigh. Someone that could look so healthy and looks fit is actually super unhealthy in certain ways. Maybe she struggles with some disease or whatever it is, right? Maybe she struggles like you right now, or but you're healing from compulsive eating, from emotional eating, from binge eating. And besides this holistic view, another thing that I always like to mention when we talk about holistic health is, of course, the importance of hormonal and gut health. If they're out of whack, there is so much happening in your body that keeps you from fully being healthy. And even those factors, an imbalance of your hormones or poor gut health, keep you from losing weight. So if weight loss keeps you stuck in that diet, binge restrict cycle, that cycle of compulsive eating, from healing your relationship with food, please realize that as long as they are out of whack, it's so much harder to lose weight. And maybe that's why you're not losing weight. And maybe that's why you're so much more frustrated. And when we're on this journey of healing, it's so easy to start confusing health with that diet mentality, that when we heal, we suddenly, even though we are trying to heal from the diet mentality, we start following those rules again, subconsciously most often. And today I want to share with you some strategies, some tips on how you can become aware whether you're following diet culture or whether you're healing from a holistic point of view. It's easy to confuse focusing on health with that diet mentality because, as I said, we learned that it's all about how we look and the weight, how diet culture teaches us, and how we just in general get brought up, right? But as I said, it's so much more. And with today's tactical tips and strategies, I really want to help you become aware of whether you're falling back into that mentality of dieting or whether you're truly healing from a holistic point of view, because diets are completely full of restriction. It involves restrictive eating, guilt, a constant preoccupation with food, and this just adds unnecessary stress. Instead of focusing on your weight and appearance, if you want to start seeing health as nourishing your mind and body. So let's start with tip number one that should help you to be aware whether you are in the diet mentality approach or whether you're truly in the healing approach. And if you are in the diet mentality, hopefully that you will be able to step back and focus on the true healing. It sounds so simple, but it is not. Like I often ended up getting back into diet mentality. Point number one is focus on how you feel and not how you look. And by that, focus on how you feel after you eat a certain food, but also focus on how you want to feel as you get older. So we really, first of all, want to shift our focus from calories inside food to the nutritional value, to how that food makes us feel. Because, yeah, I want to mention here something important is that no food is inherently bad as we get taught by diet culture. Chocolate isn't bad by itself. And if you eat a little bit chocolate, you're probably going to feel good because that's what you wanted. And as a matter of fact, dark chocolate has some nutritional benefits, has some health benefits, of course, if it's eaten in moderation. And when it comes to chocolate, if you focus on how it truly makes you feel, a few bites, a few pieces of chocolate aren't going to do anything bad. As I said, they're going to make you probably feel good because that's what you truly wanted. So you're nourishing your soul. But if you're honest with yourself and would constantly just eat chocolate, right? It probably would make your skin break out. No, it would just not make you feel good if you would eat a lot of chocolate all the time or whatever food it is. Chocolate in itself is not bad if you focus on how it feels rather than how many calories it has, rather than it being something bad. That's why you cannot take it, or that's why you can just have a little bit. This is what healing is all about, and focusing how we feel, how something makes us feel. And also, when you're older, you don't want to end up feeling bad when you're a grandma. You want to maybe feel fit. If you would always eat things now that potentially harm you, it will have an impact, of course, in the future. No, it maybe will lead to health issues. So instead of focusing how the food is gonna make you gain weight and all of that, start focusing on how the food makes you feel after you would eat way too much, but also the impact it has if you would constantly eat that food. And this will help you with the restriction in a sense. So we don't want to restrict because we want to allow ourselves to have everything, but this will help you not put those foods on a pedestal that, like, the more you tell yourself you can't have something, the more you want it, right? And if you remind yourself of how those foods make you feel, the more you eat from it, this will help you break free from that inner desire to really want it. When it's like a little kid, when you tell the kid it's not allowed to have something, it wants it even more. Make sure that whenever you eat something, focus on how you feel. Think about how this is going to make you feel if you want more. So if you eat a bit chocolate or whatever it is, yeah, I'm just using chocolate as an example. If you eat a bit chocolate and you feel like, oh, I want to have more, ask yourself or think about how you would feel if you eat a bit more. And if you're honest with yourself, if you would maybe eat more, you would already feel overfull because you already had enough, right? And you would feel like, oh, sluggish because you ate way too much already. So instead, maybe tell yourself, okay, I can have it again tomorrow. That's really the key about it. Tip number 2 is understand your food choices. So this is almost linked to before. We want to really understand why we made certain food choices. If we are honest with ourselves and the food choice that we made is because we didn't eat something because of how many calories it had or how much fat it had, then it probably means that we are operating from that diet mentality, and it's completely fine. It's about becoming aware of it and stepping away from it. Because when you're healing your relationship with food, it means that in the past you did those things, right? It's so ingrained in your subconscious that you automatically thought, okay, I cannot eat this because it has way too many calories. It's going to make me fat. Of course, maybe those thoughts and those subconscious wiring comes up and leads you to certain food choices. Once you made a food choice, especially around things, maybe after you eat something and you don't feel satisfied because you ate something that you actually didn't really want, but instead it's something that had lower calories or whatever it is, then be honest with yourself and realize that this is diet culture thinking, and don't think about it with guilt. It's completely fine. We are healing one step at a time. And it's not just about that. Ask yourself also, are you eating something because you should? Because in diet culture, we often think like that, I should eat this, I should eat that. Or are you eating things because they truly nourish your mind and body, because they nourish your soul? Do you tune into your hunger and fullness cues? Make sure that you ask yourself whether it's because you were actually hungry for this or whether it's diet culture talking. This tip is something that really helped me personally, because once I was starting to heal my relationship with food, I was still sometimes making those decisions based on what I should and shouldn't eat. And this left me feel unnourished, this left me feel unsatisfied. And then I ended up maybe eating something, and still ended up eating something that I wouldn't have eaten if I would have made the more nourishing decision to begin with. So let's say you think that you shouldn't eat something, so you shouldn't eat the sandwich. So it's still diet culture talking. So you eat a salad instead. Of course, I love salad, so there's nothing wrong. It's just an example. But so you eat the salad instead, you get home, you still feel unsatisfied and end up maybe binging on a bag of chips because you are unsatisfied. That's why it's really important to allow yourself to eat what you truly crave while thinking about how you're going to feel so that you don't overeat. And a little extra tip to go with those last 2 points: start focusing on crowding out versus restriction. What that means is that instead of not allowing ourselves certain foods, cutting out certain foods, we want to add in more of what nourishes us. If you truly crave a bag of chips, allow yourself to have some chips, but maybe add in some veggie sticks and maybe a hummus as a dip or whatever it is, Because that you A, satisfy your craving with chips, but because you fill your plate with other things, you're not just going to eat the full bag of chips. So you're also going to eat veggies and hummus that provide you with fiber and protein and help you stay full for longer and really nourish you. Tip number 3 is to rethink restriction. So this point might only be relevant for some because when we learn about intuitive eating, food freedom, maybe on social media, you often see it that you need to let go of all restriction. All restriction is bad because no food is bad. And what I said in the beginning, and that is true, no food is inherently bad. But for some, we do have to restrict ourselves for things that we are allergic to, for things that we are intolerant. It's about the food that really makes you feel bad. If you're allergic to peanuts, of course, when you eat them, you're going to be in big danger. It's not going to be good for your body. So here again, we're honoring how we feel by not eating it because the restriction has to be there if you're allergic. So really, when it's restriction about that, it has nothing to do with diet culture. You're restricting something that you notice that always makes you feel bad. It's a different reason why we're not restricting because of the calories or because we're worried that it's making us fat. We are restricting truly because we know how bad it's going to make us feel. Then point number 4 is to let go of that perfectionism because that all or nothing mentality, that all or nothing mindset is exactly what diet culture is all about. It's something so prominent. Perfectionism can lead to that compulsive eating, emotional eating, binge eating that leads us feeling like a failure, full of guilt. And that used to be so big for me. And what I mean by that is, for example, when we tell ourselves, okay, I will be 100% good tomorrow. I will start again on Monday and be 100% good. I'm just going to eat clean. So that's like a complete perfectionist thinking, right? We are thinking, okay, we have to do everything perfect. Otherwise, we're not going to succeed. We're not allowed to indulge, just clear foods, always working out. But when we tell ourselves those things that we'll be 100% good, we're not going to allow ourselves anything, those are big goals to begin with, right? There are huge goals that if we are honest with ourselves, or if we would have been honest with ourselves in the past, we would have realized they're so hard to achieve and that they're not fully realistic, that they're only going to leave us feeling guilty and overwhelmed and ashamed. And with this all or nothing mentality, with telling ourselves we are not allowed to have anything bad, we're not allowed to have any cookies because we have to eat clean, we are setting ourselves up for failure because we talked about it before. When you tell yourself you can't have something, you want it even more. It's that inner dialogue about, oh, I really want a cookie, but I'm not allowed to have a cookie. And at one point, you're going to give into that restriction. You're going to give into that craving because it gets stronger and stronger. So you eat that cookie, you feel guilty because now you ate a cookie. Now you made a mistake. You're a failure. You messed it all up. Might as well eat the whole bag, start again tomorrow. I don't know if that sounds familiar for you, but for me, it was really like that. I would eat like a chocolate or two, feel bad. Oh, now I ate it. And I would think, okay, you know what? I'm going to clean out everything in my house and then start again tomorrow. Or when it was a weekend, I would maybe say, okay, let's start again on Monday. And the cycle starts again. I'm going to be 100% clean. I'm going to focus on clean eating, no mistakes allowed. But again, the cycle started again. I gave into my cravings, and on that binge restrict cycle will go. If you think in the past, if you would have allowed yourself to make mistakes, to be human and have that one cookie, maybe even two, you would have not felt so guilty and ended up overeating and binging because you allowed yourself to have that, because it's completely fine to have it. There's nothing wrong. You're not going to gain weight from a cookie. You're not going to throw away all your goals that it's never achievable. As a matter of fact, now I eat cookies and chocolate and I still lost weight and I feel good because, again, it's about nourishing your body and soul and mind so that you not constantly think about the food, right? If you would have allowed yourself that in the past, probably this would have not happened. You would have not constantly overate and maybe reached your goal faster. That's something I really had to become aware of and realize. So this is a big one. Really let go of that perfectionism, of that all or nothing mindset. Before I move on to the next tip, think about it also when it comes to working out. For me, it was like that, or moving your body. I used to always think, okay, the only workout that counts is going to the gym 45 minutes. If I only have time for 15 minutes, it's not worth it. But going to the gym 15 minutes is still better than no minutes, or at least going for a 15-minute walk during that time is still better, right? Instead of setting those unachievable goals. In healing, we want to focus on realistic goals. We want to do things step by step because true habit change happens when we do things step by step rather than trying to do everything at once, trying to do everything perfect, trying to change everything from one extreme to the other, right? So, the last tip for today is practice self compassion. So, we want to stop trying to heal from self hate, what we did when we tried to hate ourselves thin, no? When we are in that diet mentality, we hate our bodies, we hate ourselves. So we want to change it because we are not worthy otherwise. So we want to start shifting into a place of self compassion. Regularly check in, are you healing from a place of self compassion or are you still trying to heal from a place of self hate? Honor your emotion, honor your flaws, practice self kindness, and just imagine the shift you would create that if instead of focusing on your flaws and all the things that are wrong with you, you would focus on your strengths and the things that are already great in your life. And by healing, you make things even better for yourself. So imagine the shift you would create if you would shift your focus from that self hate to self love, from looking at your flaw to looking at your strengths. And this also involves to recognize as humans, we are not perfect, right? We want to let go of that perfectionism because as humans, we are not perfect. We are bound to make mistakes. From mistakes, we learn. We are bound to start with things being hard, but the more we do them, the easier it gets. So recognize that you are human and that you don't need to do things perfect because it's not going to help you in any way. And that's why it's so important to also recognize that the way you talk to yourself makes all the difference. If you internally support yourself, it's easier to reach a goal than when you tell yourself, you're a failure, you cannot reach that, you're never going to lose weight, you're never going to be happy or whatever it is. And the way we talk to ourselves makes all the difference because it impacts how we act, how we feel, and how our outcomes are created. Because if it impacts how we act, it impacts the outcomes that we create. We want to let go of our past, that everything that happened. So maybe now you start to feel ashamed because you made certain things and actually should have done it another way. But make sure that you honor your past, you let go of any shame around it, and instead honor it because it's part of your life. And if you stay stuck or if you think too much about the past and things you should have done different, it will keep you in that negative spiral. It will keep you in acting in ways that aren't beneficial to you because it will trigger guilt that maybe triggers certain maladaptive behaviors like the compulsive eating. It will maybe even push you back into that binge restrict cycle. Self-healing truly starts with self-compassion, and that's why if you take anything from this, make sure that you are kind with yourself, that you are supporting yourself, because the more kind you are with yourself, the more you believe in your ability to reach a goal, to manifest that goal. Now, before we wrap up, let's quickly recap the 5 tips, strategies, whatever you want to call them. Tip number 1, strategy number 1 was focus on how food makes you feel and not how it will make you look. Consider how you want to feel after you eat and as you age instead of how many calories are in some foods. Then tip number 2 was to understand your food choices. Are you making certain food choices because you should or because it's something that truly nourishes you? That is something that you want based on your body's cues and your body's signals. Tip number 3 was to rethink restriction. Not all restriction is bad. If there's some foods that truly make you feel terrible or that you're allergic to, this restriction, of course, has nothing to do with diet mentality. Tip number 4 was let go of perfectionism. That all or nothing mindset is not going to help you in any way. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to do things step by step. Set realistic goals instead of unachievable. That will probably have you end up feeling guilty and ashamed. And then the last tip was to focus on self compassion over self hate. If you're supporting yourself with kindness, it's so much easier to reach your goals. So remember, we are only human. It's normal to make mistakes, and our past doesn't define us. So shift your mindset around those things. And I truly hope that this will help you focus on your healing journey and will help you to stay on your healing journey versus getting back into that diet mentality.